You're standing in the kitchen again. They just criticized your cooking again, and your body tenses. Before you even think, the words spill out. I was rushing because the kids were late for school, and I had a work call at 9, and I just didn't have time to... You're explaining, justifying, defending a simple meal like your worth depends on it. And halfway through your sentence, you catch yourself and feel that quiet shame. Why am I doing this again? That shame isn't your fault. It's the residue of a relationship where your reality was never enough, where every action required permission through explanation. And the moment you stop giving those explanations, that's when the real reaction begins. Not the yelling you expect, but something quieter, more dangerous. Stay with me, because in 90 seconds, I'll show you the third reaction, the silent weapon most people mistake for peace until it's too late. And by the end, you'll have a 3-second rule that breaks the explanation cycle without guilt. Let's clear something up first. Explaining yourself isn't inherently wrong. Healthy relationships involve clarification. I was late because my tire blew out. That's communication. But when you find yourself justifying existing, why you're tired, why you need space, why you have boundaries, that's not communication. That's survival. And narcissists don't just prefer your explanations, they require them. Because your explanations are their control mechanism. Every time you justify your feelings, you're handing them the remote to your reality. I know this because I lived it for 4 years. My ex would say, "You're overreacting," and I'd spend 20 minutes explaining why I wasn't. He'd cancel plans last minute, then act confused when I was disappointed, and I'd soften my voice. It's just that I'd been looking forward to it all week. I became a walking justification machine. My therapist finally asked me one question that cracked everything open. When was the last time you stated a boundary without apologizing for it? I couldn't answer, because I'd forgotten what it felt like to simply be without defending my right to exist. Here's what happens when you stop. Their entire control system glitches, and they react in predictable patterns, not because they're evil masterminds, but because their fragile self-image depends on your compliance. Today we're covering 5 reactions, but reaction number 3, that's the silent killer. It doesn't look like anger, it looks like surrender, and that's exactly why it works. I'll break it down at the 6-minute mark, but first, let's talk about the first reaction most people mistake for calm. Reaction number 1 hits quietly, the silent treatment disguised as respect. You set a boundary. I need space tonight. I'm going to read alone. No yelling, no drama. They just go quiet, nod, say okay with a flat tone, and you think, wow, they're respecting my boundary. But here's the trap. Their silence isn't respect, it's punishment. They're withdrawing emotional oxygen to teach you a lesson. Don't do that again. You'll feel it in your body, that low-grade anxiety when they walk into the room, the way your shoulders tense waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's not peace. That's walking through a minefield they planted. I saw this with my friend Lena last year. She told her partner she needed 1 night a week for her art class. He said, sure, no problem, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. For 3 days after, monosyllabic answers, cold shoulders, silent meals. She started second-guessing herself. Maybe I was selfish. Maybe I should have asked first. That's the goal. Not to make you obey, to make you self-censor, to make you police yourself before they ever have to lift a finger. Watch for this tell. When their okay feels heavier than their anger. When silence becomes a weapon they wield with surgical precision. That's not maturity. That's manipulation wearing a calm mask. And this leads directly to reaction number 2, the blame reversal. Reaction number 2, they become the wounded one. You stop explaining why you're upset. You simply say, I need you to stop interrupting me. And suddenly, they're the victim. Tears well up, voice cracks. I guess I'll never be good enough for you. Or the cold version, a sigh, a head shake, walking away while muttering, fine, be that way. And your nervous system, trained for years to soothe their discomfort, kicks in. You chase them, apologize for being harsh, offer explanations you swore you wouldn't give. This isn't remorse, it's tactical retreat. They've learned that your empathy is their leverage, and they weaponize it beautifully. My ex did this masterfully. I'd say, "Don't raise your voice at me," and he'd slump on the couch. "You're right, I'm a monster, just leave me alone." Within minutes, I was comforting him for hurting me. I'd forgotten my original boundary entirely, replaced by the urgent need to fix his pain. Why this works so well? Humans are hardwired to soothe distress. It's primal, and narcissists exploit that wiring. They don't want you to stop setting boundaries, they want you to feel guilty for setting them, because guilt is easier to manage than boundaries. If this sounds familiar, breathe. You're not heartless for not chasing their tears. You're waking up. And that leads us straight to the third reaction, the one I promised you earlier. Reaction number 3, the false surrender. This is the silent killer. Ready? They stop fighting. They stop questioning. They say things like, "You're right, I don't need explanations. I've been controlling. I'm working on it." And for the first time in years, peace. No drama, no tension. You think they finally get it. We're healing. You relax. You lower your guard. And that's when the real work begins. Their work, not on themselves, but on rebuilding their control through a new door. Last winter, a client named Maria described this perfectly. She stopped explaining why she visited her sister weekly. Her husband's reaction, shocking maturity. "You're an adult, go where you want." For 2 weeks, bliss. Then slowly, "Your sister seemed stressed last time. Everything okay?" Then, "She always calls when I'm working. Does she not respect our time?" Then, "I worry she's turning you against me." The surrender wasn't real. It was a Trojan horse. By appearing to accept her autonomy, he gained access to her guilt and rebuilt control through concern. Watch for this tell. When their surrender feels too perfect, when they skip the messy work of real change and jump straight to "I get it now." Real growth is awkward. It stumbles. It requires consistent action, not one-time declarations. False surrender skips the work and goes straight to the reward, your lowered defenses. And if you're nodding right now, if you've ever felt that suspicious relief after a narcissist changes, that's not paranoia. That's your intuition screaming. And it's right. Which brings us to reaction number 4. Reaction number 4, the triangulation surge. They can't control you directly anymore, so they recruit others. Suddenly, your mom gets a text. "I'm worried about her. She's become so closed off lately." Your best friend mentions casually, "He said you've been distant. Is everything okay?" They're not attacking you. They're building a coalition against your autonomy. And the cruelest part, they frame it as care. "I just want you to have support," while quietly poisoning your support system with doubt. I stayed in my relationship 6 extra months because of this. My ex told my sister I was emotionally volatile after I stopped justifying my anxiety attacks. She started giving me concerned looks when I set boundaries. I began doubting myself. Maybe I am overreacting. That's the goal. Isolate you from your own judgment by making your trusted circle question you too. This reveals their deepest fear, your independence. Because a person with strong outside connections is a person who can walk away, and they'll burn bridges to keep you tethered. But here's the truth they never want you to learn. Reaction number 5, the quiet discard. When all else fails, when you keep your boundaries, ignore their tears, see through their surrender, they do the unthinkable. They emotionally check out. Not with drama, not with a breakup, just absence. They stop asking about your day, stop initiating touch, stop engaging with your life. And it hurts, because even though you were planning to leave, being emotionally abandoned first, that's a special kind of pain. Why do they do this? Because narcissists cannot tolerate being the one left. It shatters their self-image as the prize. So they reframe the ending. They chose to withdraw. They saw you coming. They got out first. It's not about you, it's about preserving their fragile ego in the final seconds of control. I've had clients sob describing this exact moment. "He just stopped looking at me like I existed." And their deepest wound wasn't the relationship ending, it was the humiliation of being treated as disposable, like they were nothing.
So hear this clearly. If someone discards you preemptively, that's not your worth. That's their terror. And the most powerful response isn't anger or begging. It's quiet, unshakable living. No closure seeking, no why did you do this, just continuing your life with dignity. Because nothing terrifies a narcissist more than someone who doesn't need their final word. Now, let's talk about what actually to do when you stop explaining yourself. First, don't announce it. Don't say, "I'm done explaining to you today." That just gives them new material to weaponize. See? So defensive. Instead, go quiet. State your boundary once clearly. I need space tonight. Then stop. No justifications, no because, no softening. Just the fact. Second, prepare for the reactions. Know